In this video, I'm going to show you how you can grow your own food from seed to harvest in 3 months. And I'm going to use myself as an example by growing in beer cups and in these seed trays indoors, and then transplanting it outdoors to have a lush garden that I have so much food I can actually take some of it and donate it to my local food bank, which happens to be the Surrey Food Bank. So sit back, relax, and let me explain how you can grow your own food from seed to harvest in 3 months. Let's get at it. So we're going to start at February 1st. This is when I started my indoor garden. What you're looking at here is a hydroponic system, actually, that I modified. I got interested in hydroponics a couple years ago. This was a kit from Opcom. It's called their Grow Wall. And it has an excellent LED light system, but it's all grown in hydroponics inside of these tubes here. And you can see that's where you put each of the plants, and then the roots grow and you have to feed it with nutrients with the tank on the bottom. I didn't like the hydroponic system, but I love the lights. So what I did is I built this shelving system out of 2x4s and plywood, and I made it modular so I can take the shelves out in case the plants are getting bigger and I want to use more lights. I can take the shelves out and continue growing indoors. I even have a space on top to also grow. Now, in terms of what I'm growing this year, well, it's going to be all the hardy plants like lettuce. So February 1st, there's a lettuce blend. There is also some spinach, which I eat a lot of, arugula, which I also love to have, and basil. So these are really the staples. Also cilantro. My family eats a lot of cilantro, so I didn't just grow one tray. I put like multiple trays of cilantro, knowing that we're going to use it all up. So that's basically how it looks. I got the seeds in there. I got everything done. And then at February 29th, I moved it all into my greenhouse because I wanted to start peppers indoors. And so here we go. In essentially a month, this is the results of what you're looking at. Look at the arugula, February 1st, and it's just popping and looking great inside there. And those seed trays, man, I think there's like 64 cells in each one of those trays. So this is a lot of food. Here you can see the lettuce. It's germinated. It's come up. It's pretty much ready to go, waiting for warmer weather. Also, you have the broccoli over there. I grew a lot of broccoli, had some trouble with some last year that didn't really sprout, so I was hoping I can get it this year. Now, it's not just that one side. I got this other side. Like, I'm full of trays. These are these new other trays I have, a little bit smaller, but very compact. And you can see everything has germinated and you got little seedlings, and they're all growing at the end of February inside this greenhouse. Now we go to March 16th. As I mentioned, I started indoors with tomato plants and pepper plants. And here's a look at some of those pepper plants that I've transplanted into beer cups. And I'm basically going to leave them in there until I move them outside. So I just got a whole row on the bottom of these beer cups that I bought from Costco, put some holes on the bottom. Even some tomato plants, you can see there's San Marzano from seeds I got from my friend John from his nonna, so they're authentic Italians. Also, you can see that cilantro there. The reason why I didn't put it outside, it still likes heat, so I have it growing indoors because it's warmer, of course, than outside in the greenhouse, which gets warm in the daytime, but not at night. And I'm also still growing some lettuce indoors that I started. Just wanted to keep some indoors just in case it didn't grow as fast outside in February outdoors. Here's a whole slew of tomato plants. And last year I fell in love with cherry tomatoes. So this year I got a whole variety of different types of cherry tomatoes growing in there. And also, I got a pack of strawberry seeds. They're super tiny, but I wanted to try them out. I've never grown strawberries before, so that's going to be a fun little experiment. Here's the basil. This is another plant that you have to leave indoors. It likes heat. If you have a heating pad, that's going to help. But I decided to keep that indoors and not move it outside. The hardy plants went outside. Now here's Pepperland. I call this Pepperland because I have so many peppers, habaneros, bell peppers, long green peppers, long red peppers, you name it. Even my mom gave me some pepper seeds, and I was going to grow some for her as well, habanero seeds that she really liked. So March 17th. Now, I decided I needed to start up my watering system. I closed it down for the winter, so I wanted to make sure everything was still in operation, and it looks wonderful. I love these emitters. These are the best emitters that I've ever ever used. Now you'll notice there's a kind of like a ditch in the middle here. The reason I did that is because I'm going to get fresh mushroom manure to fill in these beds. So I just pushed it off to the side and I just wanted to get the watering system working. And then I was going to go pick up some more mushroom manure before I start transplanting. But I wanted to get a head start, make sure everything was, operating before I make that transplant, which I did on March 21st. Here we go. We got the fresh mushroom manure, and you can see all those little tiny plants that were in the greenhouse. I have now strategically placed it in the garden bed around where that water is hitting them, because that's the most important thing. You want to make sure it gets water because you never know what the weather is going to be like. But it's still early spring, so I'm not worried about that right now. It's more about in the summertime. But a lot of these plants are going to be done by the end of May. So here's a quick look at the irrigation 4 line. It's from Melnor. It's a 4-zone automatic water timer. I've have it all set up in 4 different zones. And now we're going to go to March 31st, end of the month. I want to show you what's going on in the greenhouse because I just turned it on and I am making it rain literally inside this greenhouse. I got this idea at the produce store about how they were spraying the produce. And I was like, man, I want to make the similar kind of a system for the greenhouse. All of these plants, they kind of look a little shocked right now. That's because this is the first time they're ever getting water on their leaves because I've been hand watering it by soil. So it's a little bit shocking to the plant, but at the same time, this is the most natural thing because this is simulating rain and they're going to go outside at some point in time. So it makes sense to kind of expose them to some water. Here I'm doing the same, except in the trays. I still have a lot of plants that have not yet been transplanted, but I'm just turning on this system for about a minute or two. I was thinking about putting it on a timer, but sometimes I don't use it all the time because I'll hand water just so that I can make sure everything is operating at its optimal conditions inside that hobby greenhouse that I have outdoors. Now we go to April 14th. And let's take a look at the garden beds and see what's happened. You'll notice a lot of these plants are starting to get bigger. And that's because, by transplanting them early in March, you're giving it time for the roots to develop. And it's now taking all the nutrients from that mushroom manure. And you can see some of them are starting to get big. One thing you'll notice about how I placed it, I put them in like every corner and like right in the front. And the reason why I did that is because I want to maximize how much food I can grow inside of these beds because they're automated with watering, that I'm going to donate a bunch. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to put every single one in the corners and then I'll put them in the front and then I'll put other plants more in the middle later on because I'm going to start growing pepper plants in the middle for the summertime. But I want to take advantage of the early spring and the mild temperatures we have on the West Coast because I'm in Vancouver, Canada. And you can just see right in the front, in the corners, I got lettuce, spinach, arugula, maybe some other kale as well I have growing in there. And so here's a nice little look. And you know what? It's going to be popping. Those roots are forming and we are in April. Now let's go see what's going on April 21st inside the greenhouse. I got a lot of pepper plants now that were indoors, moved outdoors into the greenhouse because it gets really hot and humid in that natural sun. The tomato plants are loving life in here as well. I have cucumbers growing, squash. There's a squash. It's called the Indian squash called Tindo. You can see a little bit over there. But this thing is just full of plants. Greenery everywhere you look. So many tomato plants, cherry tomato plants, especially for this year. And of course, pepper plants, which take a long time to grow. So I always get an early start. Kind of keeps me busy during the wintertime. And then by spring, I'm pretty happy because I have all of these plants growing in the greenhouse. And it's just a matter of time before they get transplanted. Here we go, May 1st. This is a very important month. Those plants have been in there for quite a while. And look at it. You could already see just by doing a nice overview that things are starting to grow in these beds. And the secret, in my opinion, is trying to get it into the ground as early as possible once it's last frost. Even if it's still cold outside, give it time for those roots to develop because once the temperature gets warmer like it is right now on May 1st, like look at this. Remember I said I put them in the corners? Look at those plants growing in the corners right on the front of the bed as well. You got some nice plants growing. At this point, you can start picking that lettuce. You can pick, if you find any kind of spinach, you start picking that because it's going to be growing and growing and growing. So all the plants that I planted really early are doing well. And then later on, after a couple of weeks, I would take more plants from the greenhouse or indoors and transplant it, like these spinach plants that I have over. This is perpetual spinach, so you just keep harvesting it until it starts bolting, which usually happens when it gets really hot. But you can get a lot of food grown if you time everything. And that's really what the important part of this video is timing everything with Mother Nature, especially where you live, to get the most plants possible to grow and to eat. Look at down this row. It's looking great. A lot of that red lettuce looks just fabulous in the garden as well. Every time I'm jumping rope, I can kind of see the progress of all of these plants. But again, look, right in the corner, I just like trying to maximize the space. This entire bed is mushroom manure. Even though I filled it with new mushroom manure, previously it was just mushroom manure. And everyone's like, you can't do that. Well, the proof, my friends, is in the pudding. You can see an entire bed full of mushroom manure. Some of it, I have some perlite in it as from, discarded soil, indoors, like growing soil. But essentially, this is all mushroom manure with this automated watering system and timing everything right to get the most food. May 1st as well, let's go inside the greenhouse to see what's going on. It's like a jungle in here full of nice, healthy pepper plants and also ready to go tomato plants that are pretty much ready to transplant outside. I'm just waiting for warmer weather. The squash is doing good. The cucumbers are doing good. But these pepper plants, wow, look how many. This is the advantage of getting an early start to the gardening season. Like these tomato plants right now, look at them. They're pretty much ready to go in the ground. One of the big tricks you have to remember is you can bury that stem because the stems will turn into roots. So it's nice to have tall tomato plants because you can really bury them in. But you take a look at that greenhouse. That is luscious. This is a fun, rewarding hobby. May 12th, 12 days later, here are those tomato plants, and I'm ready to transplant them out into the front yard. You can see I have a whole variety of different types of cherry tomatoes. That's Gardener's Delight. There's also the Sunrise Bumblebee. These are all new plants. I've never grown these before, but I went to the garden store, got a whole bunch of seeds. I believe these are West Coast seeds, and I have a whole variety of these cherry tomatoes that I'm going to be transplanting, and they're super easy to grow. You can grow them here. There's San Marzano. That's not a cherry tomato plant, but my friend John gave me that from his nonna, so I definitely have to grow that to get authentic Italian tomatoes. So this is a lot. This is a lot of tomato plants for one person to grow, but I have the space to do it because I built it when I was bored during the lockdown. And I had this crazy idea on this one part. This is the south side. I built this. You could probably see a previous video on my channel. But this is kind of like a vertical gardening system where I can grow things that are climbers like vines. I didn't just build one. I built one on the other side the next year. This I built, I believe, last year. And I wanted to see what side of the house gets the most sun. Now I can run those experiments, and there's going to be tomato plants on that left side. And on this right side, I'm going to probably make the majority of it squash. And then, of course, I have more places to grow tomato plants. On the side of the house, you can see I built that kind of like a trellis system here out of 2x4s. That's a custom built right there. It took a long time to build those, but I have that automated watering system. It gets sun like pretty much all day against this wall. So it made sense to me. Take advantage of that wall. I used to store wood there, but now I'm growing tomatoes. So I got a perfectly good spot. And over here, I want to show you something what I did this year. I put this landscaping fabric all across there and stapled it. I haven't even cut the holes yet. I was waiting for the transplanting day, which happens to be today, May 12th, to do that. So it's pretty much all set. Even on this side, you'll notice this is a brand new bed. It doesn't have a watering system because I just made it. I'm going to grow cucumbers here and maybe some strawberries as well. So here in this bed, you can see I put that landscaping paper, and it's because I'm dealing with this problem. This is like a weed. They call it morning glory. Man, that stuff is an invasive. Like I'm trying my best to contain it, but it just finds its way up. It wants to grow. It's really hard to get rid of. If you do know, please leave it in the comment how to get rid of morning glory. I don't really think you can. But essentially, all of these plants are going into the ground. I got my knife ready because I have landscaping fabric. I got to cut a little X so that I can pretty much bury each one of these tomato plants into the yard. So I did all that, and I just want to show you the results of it. This is that other side where it also has a watering system, gets lots of great sun. So I'm going to grow, this is going to be exclusively cherry tomato land on this side, because when I come home from the gym, I just sit there and eat them right off the vine. They taste so good. It's amazing. This is one of the best design things I've ever made. A lot of people have been asking me, can you build this for me? Because look at it, it's modular. It sits on these concrete blocks. And it's like IKEA. Everything's screwed together. You can unscrew it and move it around. This also is a Melnor system. This is a Bluetooth one where you set it up on your phone on the watering schedules, but I did a manual watering, and I want to show you, again, same type of irrigation. I love this irrigation because of the way the water is placed. It just kind of like, it has the best coverage of water out of all the different emitters that I've tried. So if you're building an irrigation system, look for these. You can get them on Amazon. If you want, leave a comment and I will share you the link. Look at all that cilantro growing there. I got that squash on this side. So this whole thing is going to be run with squash. It's going to run to the top, and I'm going to pick that squash, which is called tindo, used in a lot of Punjabi dishes in northern India. Women love it for cooks because they can make all these exotic dishes. So my mom, I'm going to give it all to my mom, and then I'll just go home and eat over there when it's all done. But this whole thing will be full. I guarantee it by the end of summer. So it's all ready to go. My work is done essentially in the front yard. I've transplanted everything. Now I'm just going to be picking and eating and just, kind of like weaving all the plants up and try to get it right onto the top. That's basically all my job at this point. Now look, 2 weeks later, May 16th, this is what I was talking about, getting an early start to the gardening season with these hardy plants. This is pretty much ready to go. At that point, look at these heads of lettuce that you could just take right now and eat. But I'm gonna let them grow a little bit bigger because it's not that hot right now, so they're not going to bolt, but you can see a nice view. And here I'll just, for a demonstration, turn on one of the zones for 1 minute. It's way on the left. We'll make our way over there. But as you're touring this raised garden bed, you could see a dramatic difference from May 1st. Even go back in the video and see what it looked like on May 1st and then compare it to now. It is a transformation, folks. Look at that spinach. It's ready. I'm already picking spinach up in the morning, putting it in omelets. There's that irrigation watering system going on with all of these plants in play. Like I said, when you build it this way, you don't have to do any work. This is a brand new bed that I've built for pepper plants. I don't have any irrigation in it yet, but it's an experiment because I want to see if the pepper plants will grow in these new beds because there is that fence on there. And I don't know if it's getting enough sun or not throughout the day. The only way to find out is to try out. So I have all these different types of peppers. 1 year experiment, not going to be bad, but it's going to be great because this is fresh mushroom manure in this brand new bed. The question is, do I build an irrigation system or not? Right at the end over here, I'm growing spinach because this is probably the spot that gets the most shade. So if it is sunny in the summertime, it's probably not going to bolt. Here's a nice wide view of my yard. You can see across the entire perimeter of the fence line is where I'm growing food. And here we go, May 31st. We're at the end of the month. It's been 3 months from February 1st to the end of this. And look at this transformation again. Massive. Have you ever seen lettuce that big? Heads of lettuce, just massive. Look at that broccoli as well. Hopefully that will go. Look at this. It's just like a jungle of produce. And you could imagine how much this costs if you went to the grocery store. People are like, are you selling this? And I thought about selling it, but I decided, you know what? I'm going to give it to friends, to family. Of course, I'll eat some myself. But the rest I was going to donate. And that's why I decided, why grow grass if I can grow food and then donate it to people in need because the cost of food is so expensive. You just go straight around this bed. This is like one of the best ideas I've ever had. And it happened while I was jumping rope. I was like, wow, I should build a garden bed around here. And I was just thinking about it. And you know what? It's funny because now that it's done, just look how beautiful that looks. And all of that is not going to waste. I'm going to be taking all of this and now harvesting it and then giving it away to the food bank so that people can enjoy food. Now let's take a look at those pepper plants. They're still slowly growing, so everything seems to be good. It's not even that sunny yet. You can see I put some lettuce in the corners. Those were some extra plants that I had, so I put them in these beds because I know I'm going to be harvesting them very soon. But I got a line of pepper plants and just a huge produce section right in my backyard. When I jump rope, I can look at it all. It's quite rewarding to see. And the best part is I can now donate a lot of this to the local food bank for people that are struggling financially. The cost of food is high. You can still eat healthy food if you donate it. And here we go. Harvest time. So I've got a bunch of boxes, just grabbed it, took it to my local food bank. And there you go, folks. That's how you can grow your own food from seed to harvest in 3 months. In fact, with this system, you can grow enough food that you can even donate some to your local food bank. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video of growing your own food from seed to harvest. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Is there anything I should be growing that I'm not? If you have any tips or tricks that you can share to me, I'm all ears. Once again, I'm Andy Barrar, Handy Andy, signing out. We'll see you again on the next video.